Hi, Mike.
Hi, Rhoda. How are you?
Fine.
Fine.
Not bad. And you, how are you,
Still,
Mike?
I think I'm still suffering a little bit of the jet lag from traveling.
Mm,
Welcome back, though.
nice.
Thank you, Ahmed.
And congratulations for success in the tournament, Mike.
Yeah, I think we all achieved our goals.
No, you guys did great.
Yep. Oh, you know what? I should find the pictures of them.
I see
Let's
last
see, day.
Thursday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look for the.
Gary sent a few pictures, right?
Where are this?
Oh,
Hi, Jane.
Hello. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
hmm. Okay, you guys gonna have to let me know if you're seeing the right thing on the screen because my iPad isn't responding properly. Okay.
Okay.
And let's see. Did you guys see the picture or the kind of the official announcement of the winners and their trophy pictures?
No.
We
No.
didn't see that, no.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it right now. 2026 Michigan Summer Backgammon Championships. We want day 5 morning. We're right near the end of this.
Okay. Roll a set, which is annoying. No, we are not.
Okay, this is the let's see. Okay, I'm going to share the screen with you guys, right?
Right now we see the gallery.
I'm sorry, what do you guys see?
The gallery, we see all of us.
Okay, so I will share screen. Hello, Mark.
Hi.
Hey, Mark.
Okay, now you get now you should be able to see the playing room.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So it's a fairly large room. There's actually Ed right here, right there.
Well, okay.
Oh,
this-
yeah.
This is the director's table, and they had numbers on the tables, and they really should have used them more. I mean, when they say you have this person to play, they should say that you have to meet at a certain table. But they didn't do that because people had already set up their boards in different tables.
Oh,
So if they'd done it that way, would have been easier to find your opponents. Right? But it went really smoothly. You go up to the front and you don't know who you're going to play. They'll find the other person. Okay. So this is the very end of the day 5 morning stream. Stream number 1. This is also one that Kathy is on.
So how many players totally joined?
Welcome back to the Michigan Summer Backgammon Championship. It is the end of day 4, Saturday, July 4th. Happy 4th of July, everyone. And we're down to our finalists in the ABT Championship division. It's a Gary K versus Gary K final. In this case, Gary Caselny from Florida and Gary Callos from Canada. In third place in the main event was Michael Messick. Fourth, fifth, we have Marty Storr and Richard Griggs. And tied for 5th, 6th, and 7th are Paul Belsito, Jim Airgood, and David Habib. In the consolation bracket, we started with 65 players. We're down to our final 9. In the intermediate division, our finalists are Victor de Oliveira and Kathy Van Elstein.
Yay!
Third
Yay.
place was Noah Monroe. In the consolation bracket, we started with 36 and we're down to 7. In the advanced beginner division, we had 8 players. Our 3 second place finishers are Philip Ring, Ed Marmol, and
Hey.
Andrew Sasanowski.
Yeah.
And our champion of the advanced beginner division, Jennifer Zork Pressman. We had 8 entries in our super jackpot, and our runner-up was Kit Woolsey, and the winner, David Stein. In the Masters jackpot, we had 28 entries. In third and fourth place, we have Boris Shafronsky and David Habib. Our finalists, Bill Colton and Matt Reklitis. In the amateur jackpot, we had 24 entries. In third place, April Messick. And our finalists are Felix Goikman and David Smith. On Friday night, we had the Greg Merriman Firecracker jackpots. In the open division, we had 16 entries, and the finalists are David Kettler and Kit Woolsey. In the intermediate division, we had 8 entries, and the winner, Vadim Brayman. Well, that's it for the results. We did have a special event this weekend. On Saturday, we celebrated the life of Butch Meese and Greg Merriman.
Butch was being also the bracket king. Greg played really fast. Greg always played quick, and he was a brilliant player and very successful at it.
Both of these guys were friends, players, organizers, and just all around great influences on the backgammon world. We had a full house where we told stories, we shared memories, had a little ice cream, and it was a great time. Both of these men had a big impact on Michigan backgammon. Greg as a player, Butch as an organizer, so much so that we took the time to set up their space this year. The community will remember their impact for many years to come. Well, that's a wrap for day 4. Make sure you catch all the action on day 5. We're going to be streaming all the finals on YouTube. And of course, thank you to backgammon.com for supporting the streaming. I hope to see you here next year for the 2027 Michigan Summer Backgammon Championship.
Okay, you guys hear that? 2027 in July?
Yep. 1 year from now, huh?
They have all those divisions, right? Okay, I'm trying to figure out where you guys went. Oh, there's Subu.
We're here.
Yeah, you guys are here, but where? I'm stopping the share. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Anything else about that stuff right there? Yeah, I was really proud of them. Hi, Subu.
Hi.
Yeah, really proud of Ed and Kathy both and what they did. Okay. So today, what are we doing? We're going to talk about how to effectively watch backgammon videos. Okay. So every time you watch a video, you'll learn something, right? No matter who the commentators are, who the players are, however they do it. But you can spend your time better with some of others that, do a better job, right? Oh, shoots. Give me 1 second. I think I can fix this here. I need my iPad. Okay, got it. So the elements, you have the commentators, the people that are talking, the players, and hopefully XG analysis also. Okay. And the commentators. Strong players are good. Top players are better if they can explain clearly. Okay. So Nick Blazer, you guys heard me talk about him before. He's not one of the top players even though he's not one of the top players, he's one of my favorites. He will say, this is why I think this is correct. And then he'll look at the XG feed and find, oh, well, maybe this is, he'll explain why XG will say what it does about, what it thinks is correct. Okay. XG is usually correct, right? But XG doesn't tell you why it says something is correct. And you've heard me harp about Mark Olson, who only looks to justify the XG output. He won't make a statement. He won't give his opinion unless he sees the XG output. But in his defense, I've heard these doing other commentary where it's really helpful for beginning players and advanced beginners. Okay. So one of the people you can have on your panel of commentators is XG. Okay. Then you'll have another extra point of view. So if you have two good commentators doing the analysis, and you have XG also, you've got three different points of view. You could also use, backgammon blitz. So when the commentators agree with the XG analysis, then this is a strong indication this is probably the right thing to do, the right way you should be looking at the position. You also learn something when they disagree with the bot. Because the best format is actually when they give the reasons for what they think is correct, and then they look at the XG analysis. Okay. And that tells you a lot. And the players. Okay, you can learn from top players even if they're not top tier players. One good example is the 2025 World Championships in Monte Carlo with two players, and Timo was a professional, and the other player from South Africa you could tell was nowhere near his level of expertise, but he probably got there into the finals through grit and through good rolling. So number one, have a goal. And even AI agreed with me, because what I do when I make up a lesson like this is I will write down my notes and figure out what's the structure going to be and then what's important. And then I'll ask the same question of AI, and AI's gotten really good. But the reason I ask AI is maybe I completely overlooked something. Okay. And in this case, it gave me one more commentator I'd never thought about, Tobias Hellweg. Okay. So you have to also know the match format. Most of the matches are standard match, and the goal is just to win the match. But there's something called the BMAB now. And not only do you want to win the match, but you also want to have the lowest PR. Because you'll win something at that tournament that has that BMAB event. And part of the prize money goes into a total fund near the end and someone will be awarded with the BMAB Player of the Year, and they'll get this iron thing that's really heavy. Okay? And then another format is the UBC. And the goal is not only to win the match, you get 1 point for winning the match, but if you win the PR battle, the how closely the PR is how closely you play to XG. You also get 1 point. So you get 2 points from every game, every match. Every match, right? You get 2 points. 1 point for winning it and 1 point for the better PR. It's the procedure for how to do this. You've got to be an active participant. So don't just be a passive viewer. Become an active participant. Backgammon is a game of why rather than just memorizing moves. You can't just memorize moves because there's just so many positions. I mean, there's more than we can look at in 100 lifetimes. But the goal is to internalize the decision-making process of the masters. The masters being the people that are playing and also the commentators. So if you have strong commentators, strong players as commentators, then they'll help you with that decision-making process. You can look at the XG format or the XG analysis also at the same time. XG will tell you what it thinks is best, but again, it's not going to tell you why. Okay? And then you can also compare that to what the players are doing. So if the player is a top player, then there's probably a reason why they're doing something. So you want to pause the video and predict what you're going to do. Okay? So make your do your analysis before you listen to the commentary, before you see the player making their choice. Okay. So that means pause before every move. Okay. And do just that. Also pause before each game. Why do we do that? What does our mantra say? We need to look at the away scores. Okay, this way you can know how and when to use the cube. You can use the match equities to calculate take points, figure out what the gammon price is, and formulate your own plan. So you might want to ask what's the primary objective? Do you need to build a prime? Are you playing an attacking game plan? Are you racing? So use our mantra and our game plan framework. Okay, that's so important. 0, look at the away scores in the tournament match. 1, have a game plan and know what your opponent's game plan is. Don't play into their game plan. Play into your own game plan. Consider the cue. If you pause before the game started, you'll have an idea when you should be considering the cue. And then finally, lastly, roll the dice, find the best move. Okay. Then you compare. Okay. Well, this is where you can really learn. Okay. When your move differs, why is that the case? Okay. And, especially if they're old-time players, there were a number of the matches at Michigan that were done that had commentary by some old-time players. One of them was, Frank Talbot, who has a lot of experience, one of the top players. But one that was especially good was with Marty Storr when he could get on the mic. Right? He's not only an excellent teacher. He wrote the book, which is What's Your Game Plan with Mary Hickey. But he's also very funny. Right? So why did you find something different than what they found. Okay, so from the AI, this is something they thought was important, and this is something we already talked about right here, right? Using XG or new backgammon or BG Blitz to see how you match up with what was actually done using analytical tools, things that we didn't have many years ago. Right? And then try and figure out why. That's the most important thing. Okay. So you can input, like it says, or you can input the position into your software to see the equity difference. But even better is if you have the XG feed already. So in my match with Steve Sachs, that was on the stream from day, whatever it was, day 3, day 4, day 4, I put in the match into XG. So if we go through that match, you can see the real-time decision making and also the comparison to XG, and then also listen to Professor Art Benjamin, the mathematician, and Paris Dorn from Canada doing the analysis. So that's an interesting commentary panel. Paris Dorn just started getting good less than a year ago, and he is an XG co. I should have made a slide for just put XG-co on it. So that's my term. Co is child of. XG is, the neural net, child of XG. So for the players that only know the game because they learned it from XG. So they don't see a lot of other things that the old timers see. Some things that are just as good or sometimes better, especially when it comes to a containment game in a contact game plan. And Art has been playing for a long time, and he has done a lot of studying to get really good. And so he understands both the old and the new because he studied with XG also. Okay, and this is a really good tool. Most of you guys have one of the programs, either XG or BG Blitz or new backgammon. And a great technique is to take that position, put it in the software, and listen to what the experts said about why one play is better than the other. And you can tweak things. So if it turns out that maybe you think that the right play is dependent upon the race, then adjust the checkers, move the checkers to get the same flavor of the position, but with different pip counts. Okay? And that's really telling. Okay, because maybe you'll find out, yes, it's completely dependent upon the pip count. And what XG has taught us is that if the pip count is close, then losing ground in the race can be a big factor. If you're either way ahead or you're way behind, that's not as big a factor. It's not going to affect your winning chances as much. Okay, so this is more AI stuff, focus on your theme. Maybe you want to work on WQ versus checker play, which I definitely need to do, right? I learned from the matches I played this last week that like in the match with Steve Sachs, that was put on the YouTube stream. I dropped 2 cubes that were big takes, and I've looked at them since. I still can't figure out exactly how to get to the point of figuring out over the board that they are takes. One of them I have a better idea, and we can talk about that when we get to it, because basically he buffaloed me. Okay, so take notes, create folder. I want to check to make sure nobody waiting in the other room. How do we do that? Okay, I don't see anybody waiting. Okay. Okay. We'll take notes. And maybe you see recurring patterns that you don't quite play right, right? And what we can do, what's really good for this is creating Anki cards. Now, in the case of the Dublin cubes, in finding how it's a take, I figured out that what I can do is, have an Anki card for that position, but also have Anki cards for the intermediates before that. Maybe I need to understand something better. And if I have Anki cards that explain that one part of the Dublin cube decision, right? Let's say it's something simple like an attacking game. Well, not so simple sometimes, right? And maybe you dropped what should have been a take. It looked really scary. You being on the end of the side, you're on the side being blitzed. And maybe you dropped it, it was a clear take. So look at the components of the position and see what you need to know to understand what makes it a take. Okay. Well, by the way, Mark, I found a position on one of the forums on Facebook that was almost exactly about why isn't this position why isn't it right to continue the attacking game plan?
Okay,
It's
yeah.
almost exactly the same as criteria as one that you had.
Okay, good.
I'll see if I can find it again. Okay, and then I made up a list of my favorite players that I like to listen to. Michihiro Kageyama is one. Okay, so he does a really good job of explaining what you should be thinking about. Okay, Dirk Schiemann wrote a book on to hit or not to hit. And so something like having a grandmaster like Michi explain why it's better to ignore a hit. For example, if on the opening, your opponent plays 6-2 and does a split, they play 24 to 18 to bring their back checker up, and they drop the other checker from their midpoint, and they roll a 3-1. Okay? You don't use the one to hit that blot on your 7-point or their 18-point. Instead, you just make your 5-point. Okay? And the grandmaster can explain to you why it's better to do that. Sometimes it's better to have a solid long-term asset. Okay? And Mochizuki, Mochizuki, what's his last name? Yeah, one of the top 2 players in the world, they believe, he and Dirk Schiemann. Mochi doesn't really do videos like that. He does some, right? When he does very few, I should say, like especially when it's within Japan and he plays some of the other players and they're trying to learn from each other. So I ran into a term the other day called the Japanese blunder level. So for us, we use the difference of 0.020 for an error and 0.080 for a blunder. And they'll use a 0.040 for a blunder. Okay? So they see more of their mistakes as blunders than we do. Okay? But I told you about Nick Blazier, my favorites. Right? And there's somebody I had not even thought about that AI pointed me to, and that's Tobias Hellweg, who's a top player, but he does an excellent job of explaining the match. So in summary, have a goal, pause the video so you can engage your brain before the expert reveals the answer, and then predict, using your brain, consciously commit to a move to test your own intuition, and then look at what the player does and what the commentators say is correct. Okay, and then figure out why your logic was wrong. And again, if you can have XG as one of the feeds, then you have a third or fourth person on the panel to teach you what's going on. Okay, so Marty Storr from this last tournament in Michigan, and it's this was the 51st tournament at Michigan's. Carol Joy Cole ran for 30 years. But, so here he is sitting down.
Hello there, Marty Storer here. No more backgammon for me except minor fun things, so I can comment for a while. We've got the consolation round 5 already. They started the consolation yesterday afternoon. And so this is the 5th round. Since these folks are being streamed, Steve Sachs is playing the yellow checkers. His home board is the top right of your screen, and Roberto Litzenberger is playing the blue checkers. His home board is the bottom right of your screen. And Steve Sachs has just rolled a 4-3, and he's brought his both checkers in from his outfield. This is
Okay. So we're pausing it. You see that Roberto rolled double threes. What would you do with double threes in this position right here?
checkers.
Okay. Rolls double threes. Well, so one thing I started thinking about is the intrinsic value of points. Okay. So if we're to say at the beginning of a game, the most important point on the board are the 6 points. You've already got that made. You've got 5 checkers on it. Your opponent has 5 checkers on their 6 point, but it's an interboard point. It's a good blocking point. And I would say that has to be the most important point on the board. Then after that 6 point, what do you think is the next most important point on the board?
Five point.
Right, the 5 points, right? Again, it's a good blocking point. It's a high interboard point. If you make your own 5 point, you make it harder for your opponent to come in, and you're blocking them. If you make your opponent's 5 point or your 20 point, you've got a great anchor to defend against attacking game plans and priming game plans. Right? So if you were to use Knack Ballard's implied intrinsic value, he never states this exactly, but he implies that after the 6 point, then the 5 point, then the 7 point, then the 4 point, the 8 point, in that order, right? 6. I can do this right here, right? This is number 1. Okay. This will be number 2. Number 3. But it's debatable whether it's more important than that or the 4 point. And then the 4. And then 5. Okay. So in the beginning of a game, intrinsically, I think that these are the most important points. Right? But that'll change as the game goes on. Let's say you're closing somebody out, or you're maybe trying to bear in against opposition. They have a blot on your ace point. You might switch points because you don't want them to anchor on your ace point. So that becomes a very important point. So in this position right here, what do you think is the most important? What do you think is probably the most important point? If either of them can make it.
The 7 point. The
Right. This one right here, right? Roberto 7 point. If either of the players can make it, then that'll be a big game. So had Steve rolled a 6-5 last time, he would have definitely come out to here, instead of maybe even hitting one of the checkers in the outfield. If Roberto rolled 6-5, he would definitely make this point. Right now, he's a solid 6 prime. Okay. Instead, he rolls double threes. So what do you do with double threes?
Well, okay, there's 2 options. One is you could slot that bar point, hoping to make it next time. That's kind of risky. The other one is go ahead and hit the checker, like move 2 checkers from the 8 and hit the checker.
Right. So those would be maybe two of the top plays. You've already got one, two, three builders aiming at the 7 point, right? And if you move this checker around, maybe you have another one, but you might get hit, right? But so the first thing is identifying the top plays, maybe the top two, top three, and then choosing randomly among them. But if you make this point on top of Steve's head, then you've increased the gammon danger quite a bit, right? You win a lot more gammons that way. And Roberto sees that quickly. So one thing we did when this game started, right? I was not playing, why not?
In from the outfield. This is 5 away, 9 points, and it looks like
Okay, so that's exactly what we do when we start the game. 5 away, 5 away. It's like the 0-0 and a 5-point match. Right? And you figure out what your doubling strategy is before the game starts. Right?
Roberto has the advantage where he just rolled a double 3 to point on his own 2 point. Now Steve Sachs is at a considerable disadvantage with 3 checkers back and only a 4-point board versus 2 checkers back and a 5-point board. So Steve is going to probably take a picture.
You can see Steve on the left taking a picture. I think he said he took 24 pictures in our match, right? But then any critical decision, he sets it up the original position, and then he looks at whether you'll look at it later, usually that night, and figure out what's correct. So one of the pictures I had to get was a picture of him taking a picture of the board.
Of this position, as is his wont. He studies them later. He enters them into the computer, Extreme Gammon, and he verifies his first impression that this is a cold pass, that's my impression as well.
So the cold pass, and it wasn't worth playing on for a gammon. It was a little bit too dangerous to play on for a gammon. Now, the score is now 1-0 in a 5-point match. So according to Neil's numbers, that's worth 8 percentage points. So 50 plus 8 is 58%. So that means that Roberto's, if these are two equal players, which they probably are, the 58-42 advantage in this match. Okay? But you also use numbers, these match equity numbers of what happens when you win 1 point or lose 1 point or win 2 points or lose 2 points to calculate doubling points, take points. Right? Okay.
Roberto has taken the lead in the 9-point match. 5-4, he needs 4 points. Steve Sachs needs 5 points. These guys are top performers on the American Backgammon Tour. Steve is in the American Backgammon Hall of Fame. Roberto is not yet.
Okay, so that's enough of that one. Okay, so Roberto gave a seminar at the tournament, and it was about reference positions. He had a number of different reference positions, and a lot of them were endgame bear-off reference positions. But he also started off by explaining who he was, and he's the top player that isn't a grandmaster. Okay, so I guess you need 4.0 and PR and below to be a grandmaster. And he's like 0.01 above that. So he's master level 1 is what they call it, right? But he gave a very good seminar. So he seems to play a very good game. And you know, if you watch him play, you'll learn something. And if you watch with good commentators, you'll learn something also. I watched somebody that I'd never seen before. It was one of the very first feeds from the this tournament right here. And I think it was one of Dimitri's friends, the guy who set up the equipment to do the recording and the streaming. But he wasn't a top player, but he was incredibly fun to listen to. So it was just a lot of fun to listen to him. And when he didn't understand something, he'll ask the people that are watching, because a lot of people are playing with XG while they're doing it. So they'll feed it in to XG and they'll say, this is what XG thinks, right? And they'll say, okay, this is what XG thinks is the best thing, but then somebody has to explain why it's the best thing, right? So I have not yet found matches with Tobias Helweg, but I'm really looking forward to finding some of the ones that he does commentary on. And I think I mentioned everybody that, let's see. Let's see. Oh, okay. So besides Michi, there's also Dirk Schiemann. He does, he plays in different tournaments and he does live commentary while he's playing. Okay. And then Justin Noel will do commentary. He'll be asked to come in and do commentary, and he does an excellent job. Okay. So those are two other players that do a very, very good job. And I haven't watched this one yet, but Steve Sachs and who was he with? I think it was Roberto. Yeah, Roberto Lichtenberger, maybe. Steve Sachs and somebody else, another top player, were doing commentary on one of the finals matches from one of the events, right? From Michigan. And then one more I want to mention is the finals match with Timo in 2025 when they played in Monte Carlo. Timo was, definitely the stronger player, but you can learn from watching that one too, even when the weaker player made his moves and then they comment about why they were weaker. Okay, so you don't have to be watching two top players, but you can even learn from people that aren't top tier. Kathy's final with Oliveira is not only on on a stream from day 5 morning, stream number 2, but while we had our study session last time around, Roberta Litzenberger sent her the XG file. So we have the XG file, we have the live play stream, and Kathy said that she'd welcome us looking at it and analyzing ourselves too. Okay. I don't remember who did the analysis for her thing, but what's good about us doing commentary also is we can do it to the level of the audience, right? So they might be explaining at a very high level, but we can bring it down to a level that we can understand it. Okay. Okay, questions? That's basically everything I have. Oh, we didn't say hi to Freely. Hi, Freely. Okay. So in terms of dividing up your time, in general, you need the data. So you have to play. And then you need to spend some time studying what you did. Okay. Maybe in the beginning, just looking at the blunders. So Suba's been really good about that. Even things that weren't blunders, she'll also say, why did BG Blitz flag this right here, right? It didn't make sense. But then, you talk to somebody and you get an explanation of why that's the case. And she even posted one to WhatsApp recently, right? Can I post that one up here, Subu? Okay. You can find the WhatsApp. And it's under what? Beat no official business, that one? Yeah, that's it. Okay. And let's share the screen. I'll just share WhatsApp right now. Okay. So Subu's blue at can I make it bigger? I don't know if I can make it bigger. There we go. Too big. Okay. So yellow has doubled Subu. They're bearing off. Okay. And Subu's wondering whether she should take or not. Okay. Okay, so what kind of a game plan is he playing? He's playing a racing game. He's bearing in against contact. Very minimal contact, though, right? What kind of a game plan is Subu playing?
Contact.
Contact, right?
Contact.
So there's two ways to win a contact game. Either she can just race, that's one of the branches of the contact game plan, and she's behind, right? So she not only has to make from her 13 point, 2 crossovers to get in there. From the 20 point, she has to make 1, 2, 3 crossovers, 5 crossovers to get in. But once she's in also, she's going to have wastage on these checkers pile up on her 1, 2, and 3 point. Okay. So maybe she'll roll a 6 and she only has checkers on her 3, 2, and 1 point. Then she's wasted 3 pips because she kicks something off the 3 point and she couldn't use the full value of 6 on that. So that's wastage. Right? So one way is just to race, and she's in bad shape in the race. And the other way is to generate a blot, hit that blot, then contain that blot. Well, she has minimal contact, so she's probably not going to be able to hit. But if she does hit, then how's she going to contain that blot? She doesn't have a prime that she could contain that checker behind. Right? So both branches, either just racing or getting a hit on a blot and then containing it and then winning from there, both of those are poor options. Right? Okay. So, that's one that we can figure out, right? If we think about game plans. Okay. So there's a few that we can go through that we have on stream. We have the one with Kathy in her finals match, and we have the XG feed. We have the one with me playing Steve, and so we have the stream, but we also have an XG feed for that too. Okay. And Jane, did you find any that you really enjoyed watching, or any of the commentary? Because you probably watched a number of them from this last tournament, right?
Yeah, you mentioned the people that I really liked. Gosh, I haven't been back to it since we talked about it the last time, so it's not real fresh in my mind, but there are some that I saw, like they talked about were coming up or whatever, and I haven't made it back to watch them, and I still want to do that. So if I find one that I really like, I'll text you or whatever and let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we can do some of that in the future, and also continue our 2-team plays.
Mhm.
That you guys are telling me, you're showing me that that's really, really helpful. Right? On the, what do you guys, Team Tiger? Or who's Tiger and who's Dragon? The beginning team, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then the more experienced players
It's Dragon.
will have a lot of fun. You guys might be focusing on back end, but you're having a lot of fun, right? Yes. No, that's good to see. So we'll do some of that also, and we'll also play against XG. Okay. I think Kathy and Ed mentioned it last time that just before the tournament they played against XG as a team, and it really helped them because they played inside the limited doubles together.
Mhm.
And then when Roberto Litzenberger and Irina said that they played as a team they play against XG as a team, that Ed said it put the icing on the cake. Right? They learn that it really is a good tool for learning. Okay. Okay. Any other questions,
Have you
comments?
decided what you're going to do for Ollie this year, Mike?
Oh, in fall,
Yeah.
I'm not going to teach.
No? Okay. So we're going to keep going with this.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Sounds good. I was just wondering because I know the proposals are due soon, and I thought you would be thinking about it if you were going to offer something, and I didn't know if you just wanted to stick with this format. I like this format.
That's good.
I
Yeah.
think it's effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to finish up my cousin's estate,
Oh, yeah.
before, right?
Sorry,
Right?
that's not fun.
No, but the family's been waiting for a while.
Big
I mean,
job. Yeah.
It took us a long time just to gain some traction.
Yeah.
And so it's been a year and a half since he died, but
Has it really been that long? Wow.
it's been that long already, yeah.
Yes,
That's amazing.
advice.
Right. But we had no will. We thought we
Right.
could find the will in the security deposit. Once we found the security deposit box, there's no will in there, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was just step after step.
That was a tough situation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how do you decide whether to cremate somebody or bury them? Right.
When you don't know their wishes.
Right. Don't know their wishes.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
So I
hard.
had to kind of read between the lines of what he'd done to think maybe he wants to be cremated.
Yeah.
And he was closest to Buddhism than anything else. That's probably the case.
That
Right.
makes sense then. Does preparing for these sessions with us, I'm assuming it's easier for you than having to do the Ollie lessons, right?
Much easier. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
important, since you got to deal with all the other estate stuff, so.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, I usually, for the lessons, I'm much more rigorous about setting up slides.
Right,
Right.
right.
And this one, I just throw it together right there, right?
And it's working great, so don't worry about it. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you have more flexibility too, yeah.
Sorry, Subu?
More flexibility for you too, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
a little more
important.
flexibility, yeah.
Yeah.
More flexibility. And what do you guys think about the time that we put into it? Sometimes we go to 2 hours without even feeling that 2 hours have gone by. I mean, is
Yep.
that too,
It does sneak up.
yeah. I mean, is that too long? We try for an hour and a half.
It's about my max.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Between hour and a half and 2 hours, I'm pretty much done.
Okay.
My head gets fried.
Okay. All right. So, Mark, I
Okay.
will see you in March or April, whenever that big tournament in San Diego
Okay.
comes about, right?
All right.
And then for everybody else, there's all kinds of divisions at these tournaments you want to go, right?
Yeah.
But it's a higher financial bar. You got to pay for the air flight to get there, hotel room to stay in, and then the tournament fees. Right? So if it's in your backyard, that's no problem. We don't have any except for that one at the end of the year, which is more like a weekly tournament, with more players in it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Quick
you,
and
Mike.
sweet.
Hey, thanks,
you,
Okay.
Mike.
Mike.
I hear
All
you.
right. Thanks.
See you
Bye.
on, see you on Thursday, right?
Oh, I won't be there. I won't.
Thursday, Cafe Kopi.
Yeah, I won't,
Thursday,
I won't be
yeah.
there. I have a luncheon in town
Okay.
Okay.
next time.
Okay. Oh, is anybody interested? Right, Alan and Vange are going to go to the
Tomorrow, yeah.
tomorrow night.
5:30 in Kylo Park.
Right.
The symphony.
Symphony, yeah.
Enjoy yourselves.
Yes.
Will. Okay.
It's always good, yeah.
See you Thursday.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.